Hey, how's it going? This is Blue over at You Can Blue, or Chris over at You Can Blue. Just call me whatever the flip you want. Okay, today we're going to be doing a little bit of asset creation. We're going to be using Autodesk 3ds Max, Photoshop, Quixel Suite, and Unreal Engine. Oh Christ, it's actually playing my voice back at me. Stop that already. There we go, don't want that. Okay. I saw earlier a post by someone, it was nothing to do with You Can Blue, but it was a post for a tutorial where someone was saying, you know, why do people use so many tools? Well, it used to be that we just used to use kind of 3ds Max, you know, or we just used to use Maya, or we just used to use Blender, or we just used to draw the goddamn thing, you know? But we don't get that option anymore. Now the options are much more complicated. For example, I use 3ds Max in order to draw out the base shape. And then I use, obviously, Photoshop and Quixel to texture it. I use Unreal Engine, obviously, to as the game engine that it's going into. So it's not cut and dried anymore. You have to use, you know, a selection of tools. Now, if I just bring up my big helpful text box, you'll see. First of all, Quixel Suite. That costs money. I'm using Quixel Suite version 2. Quixel.se. If you don't use Quixel Suite, you don't have to, okay? But this speeds up my workflow. If you wonder why people use Quixel, just watch them using it. Seriously, it shaves a ridiculous amount of time off, and as I'm quite, well, very colourblind, without Quixel, all my stuff would look like shit. You want 3ds Max. Now, if you're a student, you want to go to students.autodesk.com and get it free for 3 years. If you're not a student, then you're either going to want to pay big money or go to Blender, or some other cheaper application like, for example, Modo. Blender's obviously free, Modo isn't. For Photoshop, you've got adobe.com. I haven't renewed my Photoshop license in forever. I'm using a very old copy of Photoshop. Now if you want Photoshop, you basically subscribe and pay through your ass forever, so it's up to you. Remember, there are free alternatives, but I don't think the free alternatives work with Quixel, because Quixel requires Photoshop in which to work. And then finally, UnrealEngine.com, which is for Unreal Engine. At the minute it's 4.16.0, which is the first version of Unreal for version 0.16. It's not 4.16 point whatever, it's 4.16. It's actually version 16 and version 4, so just to clean up any confusion there. If you're wondering who I am, hi, I am really fucking good at hard surface, and with any luck, some of it will wipe off on your brain and you can get good at hard surface too. Okay, first things first, this is 3D Studio Max. If you've never used it before, you probably should go and find a tutorial for the basics, because the interface in 3ds Max is probably the least friendly interface, well, out of any of them really. Autodesk is a CAD software. If you're wondering why I'm kind of starting off with all this, this is because this is the first stream that I've done. Probably should press this button actually, because I realise that I haven't been showing you the list. Again, Quixel.se for Quixel Suite, students.autodesk.com for 3ds Max, adobe.com for Photoshop, UnrealEngine.com for Unreal Engine version 4.16 point whatever, okay? Very, very easy. If you want Blender, that is www.blender.org, okay? Head over there, it's free. Great app. I look at the interface and my eye starts twitching, so just take that as you may. Okay, anyway, now that you can see what I'm doing rather than just looking at my face staring into the camera like a dead soulless object, let's get on with doing some stuff. Now, I said that I was going to start with something simple, and the simplest thing to start off with is a chair. Now, one of the very first tutorials I did 17 years ago was a chair, and for me a chair at the time was basically, we made some cylinders like this and duplicated them like 4 times. So I'll just quickly show you what my process was then. Okay, and then made a little box to go on top of it, like so. Okay. I actually made a tutorial that was this, by the way, just in case you're wondering. And then bring that up like that. Okay, so it's sticking out the top, and then I think, can't remember exactly because it's been a very, very long time, but I'm pretty sure it was something like I used the rotate tool and just tilted it over like that. Okay, and then, you know, lo and behold, you've got a chair. Now, to be honest, you know, for people who have never done 3D before, you may be thinking that's some sort of black magic witchcraft stuff. Okay, the basics of 3ds Max is primitives. Almost everything we do, we're going to start with a box, or we're going to use, you know, occasionally a sphere, or we might use a cylinder. It's very rare that I'll start with anything else. I'm going to be doing some fabric later on, so I'll probably use plane as well. Okay, but that's it. Now, you may notice I'm not using orthographic. I don't use it very often. I tend to use perspective, and I don't use the 4 panels. I just tend to use perspective. It's just a comfort thing. If you're comfortable having 4 planes simultaneously and tweaking everything that way, I just do it that way. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want orthographic, hell, you knock yourself out. Whatever's good for you, okay? Now, I am trying to watch the chat with one eye, but it's on a monitor that's way over there, so I will do my very, very best. Let me see. So, I suppose the best thing to start off with is to have a quick talk about units. Now, I'll probably mention this every single goddamn time I do this, okay? But if I get a box and just drag it out like this, and then make the length and width 10, and the height 180, and then draw back, that is the height of a person on average in Unreal Engine. Okay, 1.8 meters. So all the things we tend to make tend to be built around the idea that someone is 1.8 meters. Now, some other people may have a different idea of the height of 1.9 meters or whatever, but you know, basically we're using the metric system here. So 180 units here is going to top out at 180 centimeters. Okay, just to put that into a kind of, hopefully you'll kind of understand why I'm doing things this way. Now, I don't tend to use shortcuts very often. It's just the way I do things. So again, if you're not too sure about why I'm doing something, that's what the chat system's for. While I'm broadcasting live, I can explain to you why I'm doing something or how I'm doing something. If you're not here when I'm broadcasting live, then tough shit, you should have been. You can still watch this though as a rebroadcasted one. Okay, let's get started. Now, there's a couple of important things I need to do here. So I'm going to get my tools, and I am going to click more, and I'm going to get the polygon counter, which is just here. Okay, now on occasion I'm going to be referring to this, and I'm going to count triangles, and the reason this is important is because we're aiming this for a game. Okay, so if we're aiming for this for a game, the last thing we're going to want is 100 by 100 by 100, for example, giving us 120,000 polygons. Okay, now we can handle this in certain realms inside the game engine without too much of a problem, but to be honest, for almost every asset we create that's high detailed, we're going to want to keep it probably less than about 20,000 polygons. In fact, we're definitely going to want to keep it less than 20,000 polygons. And the reason for that is the game engine's going to handle it better. Because most of the time when we're aiming our games or our finished game assets into a game engine, you know, it's so that whoever's going to be playing the game in the end isn't going to get their computer smoking and catching fire. It makes them sad when they cry. Most of the stuff I build, if not all the stuff I build as well, is for VR, so I always have to take the VR angle into account. That's very, very important. Okay, so let me start off, and I'm going to start off with, and I'm just looking down the side of my chair. Yep, there we go, you see? Give me a little bit of reference, because photos, pa. And I'm going to start with a 5 by 5, and then a height of 12. Okay. That gives us our first chair leg. Okay, very easy. Let's just start off with that. Now, hit F4, and I'm certainly going to reduce my length segments down to 1 by 1 by 1. Okay, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call this chair, because that's what it's going to be. Right click, convert to editable polygon. Okay, that's the difficult thing. We're now working in polygons. Again, if you've never used 3ds Max, I apologise, however, polygons are the main way we do stuff in 3ds Max. If you're mainly a ZBrush user and you're good at it, great. Nice to have you on board. I won't be using ZBrush, sorry. Okay, now, I need to look at the rough overall height of my chair, which is approximately 40 centimetres off the ground. Again, I'm just looking down and kind of thinking about this. So, I'm going to bring that up, give that an overall height of 40, just so I know how high up it is. Okay, I just use these are like dummies for me, okay? Now, I'm going to go to my left viewport, so hit L, and then we can see it there. Okay, so we've got my big old dummy, which I'm going to delete in just a minute, and my thing that isn't a dummy. So I right click out, grab this, and let's go up. So shift, drag, tail it up to there, like so. Okay, now I've got two objects. I've got this bit which I don't really need anymore. Goodbye. Back to perspective, so I just hit P there. Okay, now again I'm kind of looking at this. I'm just trying to kind of work out the best way of making this look the way I want. So I just tend to walk around my model. I do a lot of freeform modelling, so again some people don't like that. I'm very sorry. Okay, let's move these vertices down. Oops. So I'm just going to marquee select them. Bring those down a little bit like that. Bring these ones up a little bit like this. Not too much, just a little bit. Okay, now inside here I have these polygons. This one and this one. So I'm hitting control while I select them. That allows me to just basically select both of them. Okay. Now what I want to do here is inset. Not too much, just a little bit. So inset like that. Okay. Next I'm going to, rather than bevel them manually, which would have brought them up for me, I'm going to hit W and just move this one up a little bit. And then come back out, and I'm going to hit the same again and just bring this down a little bit. Now the reason for that is because we can make this circular by doing a little bit of cheating. Because we kept the sides, basically the width and the length the same, what we can do is just hit mesh smooth, bam, and that makes it circular for us. Okay, and that's kind of important, because now it means that I can click grow like that and bridge, and we get this nice solid object here like that. Okay, so as you can see, it kind of bevels into this shape and then kind of maintains the roundness, which is what I want. Okay, just have a look at that. Now it's not quite round enough for me, so I can adjust that if I want to. So I'm just going to select that one and that one and that one and that one. Okay, and then I can just use the scale tool, just bring them in manually if I want to. Hang on a second, actually I've got the wrong edge for that. I need this one, sorry. So I want to make sure I get both sides. Boy, I'm glad I had some coffee. And that one. Will you select? There, that's it. Got to be real careful because we don't want the wrong ones selecting. That's really, really important. Okay, and this way, if we want to, we can give it more curve without having to rely on extra smooths. Okay, so we can just do that. Just bring that in and then bring it across the other way. Now, another thing we can do if we're feeling like really cheating, well, it isn't cheating really, is I can delete both of these. Now, bear in mind that this has got, I think it was 8 edges or 8 sides or whatever. See there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so what I can do instead is I could get, you go away. I know you're thinking, oh, he said he was really good at hard surface and he's just making a chair. Yeah, a chair's like the fundamentals. Just to get you started on this. Okay, so be patient. 8. Okay, so we've got 8 sides in this, and I'm going to give it 1 height segment. Okay, that way it'll just fit straight on this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to align this to the box. So, align tool, click. Okay, that way it's already in the right place. And then just bring this up. And what I'm going to do is convert this to an editable polygon, like so. And then I am going to select all these middle ones, do a Control I, and then hit delete. Okay, so now this is open at both ends. Why have I done that? Well, let's get this in the right position and then I can show you. So firstly, I want this to come down and kind of dock here, like that. And I'm just leaving a small space there. And now if I go to my left view again, remember we used that before. I want to grab these top ones and just bring them up. Okay. Now I can go to perspective zoom again. Gives me a nice place to work from. Okay, now I'm going to attach this. And then this means I can go to vertex mode, and I'm going to use some target worlds. Now I could just build a bridge between these using polygons, but I'd have to delete the extra vertices and edges that I used. So for me it's going to be a lot easier just doing it this way, because then, as you can see, all I have to do is just click these together and it becomes kind of an organic whole, you see? So we already created the round shape that it's kind of converting into. Now another thing we could have done is just literally kept it as it was and just smashed a cylinder through the end of it, so we have intersections, you know, because to be quite honest, Unreal Engine doesn't really care if I stick a single mesh in this that has intersections. It isn't going to break and do anything horrible. It never does. It's an incredibly reliable piece of software most of the time. Okay, so we've got that. Okay, see how that's kind of working. Now, if we want to add a little bit of ornateness to our chair leg, we can. So, for example, if I just go to Swift Loop, and just make sure that I'm pressing the scale button, for example, here. I've got scale, yep, there we go. So I'm going to get Swift Loop. And this will allow me to put loops in pretty much wherever I want. Okay, so now I can double click this one. Just kind of bring it out a little bit like that. Another Swift Loop in just here, and again bring that in, maybe down, and it just starts creating some nice kind of interesting little shapes. I mean, bear in mind that unless you get some really strange people coming in to play your video game, most of them are not going to spend a lot of time staring at your chair legs. Some of them will, don't get me wrong, some of them will, but not that many. Okay, so we have one of these created. So now what I need to do is I need to create probably about a 40 centimeter gap again. Okay, between this and where is essentially going to be the back of the chair. So again, I'm just going to drag a line across and just do that. Okay, and I'm just going to use my height, well, length in this case actually, to make this, well, let's see, actually I don't think it's that long, I think maybe about 35. Because the tops of the chair are going to do most of the work. Okay, so let's move that to there. And let me just have a quick look. So I'm going to pull out a biped for my own reference. That way I can work out exactly where the back of the knee is going to be. So let's make him, well, that was surprising, wasn't it? 180. Let's see how that's going. It's not quite high enough really, is it? If the back of the knee is going to be there, it's going to have to flomp down quite a bit to get on this chair. Okay, let's increase the height a little bit. One of the many uses of the biped. Not many of them are actually using the biped for what it was meant for, though. Well done, what a desk. Okay, so about there. That way, you know, you have to lift the back of your ankles, but your feet still touch the floor. So about there. I love doing things this way, just using the visual method. Okay, now let's take this, which probably needs a little bit of more ornate stuff doing to it, to be quite honest. And I'm going to show you another quick way of doing that. So I'll just get old Swift Loop here and here. Just take those two off and delete the middle bit. And now what I can do is I could do some freehand stuff if I want to as well. So cap, come into here, select this bit. Okay, and now I can use the bevel tool and freehand bevel. Now if you don't think you're going to be any good at freehand beveling, don't worry, it just takes a little bit of practice. But you can create all sorts of fun little shapes by doing this. Just remember though that it's important to maintain the integrity and structure of your chair, because if it looks like it's going to collapse, people aren't going to feel overly comfortable about sitting on it. Okay, and then we can just bind them together again using the same method if we so want. So I can either use a bridge, or I could use a target weld. Okay, so I'm just going to click here and click here, click bridge. Oop, got it wrong there, did not click it correctly, hang on. Click there, and click, come out, damn thing. Click there, and click there, click bridge. There we go. So that gives us that, which is actually curving quite nicely, to be honest. I was going to get rid of those two edges, but I haven't used that many that I'm really fretting that I'm going to run out of polygons anytime soon. So now I'm going to grab this and just bring it over to here. like so, and click OK. Alright, so with these two lovely shapes here, again, just looking over the edge. Remember, I'm using a chair because I have one, and it's with me, so it's kind of helpful. I'm going to get rid of this bit because I don't need it, and now I'm going to attach these together again, like so. Okay, now I want to create here, so I might as well do them all at the same time, and here. I've got a new keyboard, by the way, which is why I keep pressing the wrong button. And my Windows key doesn't work, which is infuriating me. Okay, so inset, like that. Okay, and for the one at the top, I don't want too much of a lip. I don't care at the bottom, but I do at the top, so Alt select. I'm going to turn off inset there. I'm going to move these up until the lip is nearly level with the top, like that. And then, because I always seem to put a lot more weight on the slat at the top, you see. I don't know what kind of chair I'm sitting in, but it's quite a sturdy one, or it was until I started using my arse to demolish it slowly. Okay, so bridge that, and then here I'm going to do the same again, so control and then bridge. Alright, now as you can see, oh, I've just locked it and unlocked it again. As you can see, I have the start of my chair going on here, so that's pretty good. Just again, kind of looking over the chair design. Now, I'm going to my top viewport. One of the things I noticed, so I'm going to make sure angle snap is turned off by pressing A, is that my chair isn't actually two parallels. It's a bit more like this. Okay, so it kind of flares out slightly. So it's narrower at the front, at the back than it is at the front. So if I just do that, okay, and maybe just bring it in by about, I don't know, -5 degrees. I think before I do, however, I'm going to move it, just get it in the right position actually. So I'm going to bring that to there, hold shift, make a copy. Again, I'm kind of freehanding this a bit, and by a bit I mean most of the time, so sorry. Okay, now, again, don't want to get it in too far, so maybe 2 degrees should be enough, or thereabouts. See how this says 2.183, so I'll just change that to 2. And then with this one, it's going to be -2. Okay, so we get that kind of slope, so the chair gets narrower at the back, not at the front. With me so far? Hopefully. Good. Okay, back into perspective. Again, our little dude here is like proving his worth in, well, weight in gold, isn't he? Okay, next. Let me get rid of him for the minute. I don't need him. Bye. And this is far too narrow from chair, so again, use your eyes. You've got artist's eyes. I remember Sir Bobbington Ross said several times, always make sure that you're constantly looking around your environment. And then he said a lot of really psychedelic stuff about clouds, so pay attention. Okay. He did, didn't he? And pocket squirrels, thank you very much. Yes, he did. And his pocket squirrels were fantastic. That wasn't a euphemism. That wasn't like a TV entertainer in Great Britain telling some kid to reach into his pocket about pocket squirrels either. You know, Sir Bobbington Ross never once got done for advanced Monterey. God bless his soul. Okay, so I'm going to control select this one and this one. Actually, no, I'm not. Let me just check my chair. Yeah, I'm not. Oof. Nearly made a tragic mistake there. I'm going to select this one and this one. That wasn't tragic really. And this one and this one. Okay. So I've got 4 selected. I'm going to press inset, but I'm going to press the settings button, and that way it will remember what I did last time. Okay, the reason for that is because I want it to be basically the same thickness. Now, if I grab these top ones, here and here, and then over here, and over here. There we go. Okay, so this will give us, again, quite a sturdy wooden base for our seat, which is basically going to be a kind of a seat pillow, which is pretty cool. Okay, back to here, and I can only bridge one at a time, because otherwise 3ds Max will freak out and have a nasty accident, so bridge. And while I'm doing this, I'm also going to click save, and go to my computer and go to my YCB stuff, new, just make a folder if you haven't got one, pull stuff. Okay, and in here I'm going to call this chair underscore 01 underscore workbench, because I know it's a workbench, and that way if 3ds Max crashes and I do not have a backup, I will not cry and wet myself too much. Okay, now I am going to again bridge there. And you'll see that we have that, which is pretty handy dandy. Okay, now the bottom of the chair, in my opinion, these connectors are far too thick. Easy as pie to make them thinner. I'll just do a quick marquee. I can just do that. Look at that. Marvellous, isn't it? I'll do it on the top as well. Keep pressing the broken Windows button. New keyboard as well. Top tip, guys. Really, you know, check the keyboard. Don't buy one coming in macro buttons. I did, and it's a pain in the arse. Okay, next I'm going to go straight through the middle of this, and then I'm going to click connect, like that. Then I'm going to click chamfer. I'm going to chamfer it to around about the thickness of the wood, so when I look at the top I get more or less a square. Why am I doing that? Because, again, look at this, right? I want to take this polygon. Now, if I want to be ultra precise, I can create a small lip on the top and the bottom. If I don't, I can just do that. Okay, and we get that shape. With me so far? I hope so. If not, we're in trouble. Right, now the next thing I want to do is I want to create a kind of a lip around the outside of this. And the reason for that is because I need to create a pillow, a bit what you sit on, whatever you want to call it, okay? Now, if I go to my, select this again, if I go to my Swift loop, do a quick Control S just in case it crashes, and as you can see I can just go straight in here, and I need it near the top, like that. Okay, and what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to basically create this into a shape and extrude it. So if I create shape from selection, I do not want it smooth, I want it linear, and I want this cushion. Okay, and then if I just do that, I think I still had it selected. Let's find it. There it is. So there's cushion there. Okay. Now I'm going to find the original, which is just here, and just do a Control and backspace. Now it's gone away, never to worry us again. Okay, now let's go to the cushion that I was mentioning just a few moments ago. And what I want to do here is just do a quick extrude. So I'm just going to extrude that up by a small amount. And I've got to be very, very careful when I do this, because I don't want this to have a million extra faces, because it will ruin the model basically. Okay, right click, convert to editable polygon. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of cheating. So let's take away this bottom polygon. Go to the top here, because we're not going to see the bottom polygon. There's going to be no option in any video game I design called crawl underneath chair. If I was making aliens there would be, but honestly I'm not. So I'm going to use the cut, straight down to here, this one, straight over there, that one. And we're doing vert to vert, by the way, so you want to wait until your cursor changes, otherwise there's no point in doing it really. Okay, so that gives us this. Now, first thing I'm going to do is just raise this up a teeny bit. So I'll right click until the cut goes away. There we go, just a little bit like that. Okay. Now, I am going to do a few Swift loops. Not too many, just so I can get a little bit of shape to this. Okay, because most chairs tend to kind of come up a little bit in certain areas and then down a little bit in certain areas and stuff. You'll know yourself if you've ever sat on a chair, and if you've never sat on a chair, then, well, you need to get out more. So I'm just basically manually giving a little bit of plump to this. Add a little bit of unevenness to it, like so. Okay, so we get kind of that shape there. Okay, and when I stick some fabric on it, it'll be fine. Now I'm going to stick that back down there, squeak, and I can have it coming slightly over, which is what I want. Okay, and that gives us that very ornamental looking chair, which is fine with me. And now I can attach that to there. Okay, now I'm going to look at the back of my chair, and it angles backwards. What a surprise. So what I'm going to need for that is these two fellas here. So hitting F4 again so I can see my my thingies, what I am doing. I'm going to control, that way I've got both these, so controlled and clicked. Now firstly I need to make sure the back is the right length, so I'm just going to extrude it once. Go on, we can pretend we're in school watching children's TV. That's not the right length, but that more or less is. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend my chair. So I need to go straight through here, like that, and I'm going to do a connect. I'm going to bring my connect way down like that, to the roundabout there, because I need to bend it back, and I'm going to try and do it subtly. Okay, it's important. We don't want a massive angled bend. This isn't Swedish design furniture. And I need to bring it back round about that far. Okay, now the next thing I need to do is, you see these here, this is quite important, and it's the kind of thing you pick up from doing this kind of a lot. Okay, we need to bring this up like that, just to keep the angle going. Okay, so there we go, like that. Oh, and I do believe my monitor's about to turn itself off because it's actually a television. Okay, now if I double click that, hold down control and double click that, then I'm going to go over here and push this door to. There we go. And what I need to do now, oops, still no messages, unable to connect to chat, reconnecting in 4 seconds. Wonder why chat's not connecting. Let's have a quick look. There's 2 whole viewers there as well, this is terrible. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to chamfer this. So I use my chamfer tool and just do it once and then just twice. Okay, and that'll just give that edges a much more smooth look. Alright, now I'm going to take one of these out straight away, and that's probably going to be this one. Right click to close chamfer, control and delete. Same here, double click, control, delete. Okay, so we've got that nice space there. And I'm going to want to put a bar in across here as well. So, my other monitor is about to turn itself off. Remember, you can donate to my horrible pauper computer collection by just sending me fat bang, in exchange for which you'll get a picture of me crying. Okay, let's just insert this, and we can use the last one again if we want to, so there we go. Now, you'll notice the top of this isn't straight. Now, if you're doing this for yourself, then you are your own boss and you are responsible for shouting at yourself if you find errors. So I'm going to correct mine. I've got them both here, and I'm going to use the scale tool, and I'm going to scale down on the Z axis. Hello, what do you want? Cut. Oh, let's have a look. Won't be a second. Oh, that's excellent. Excellent bit of hand poking. Well done. Looks really good. Like, really good. Are you making a cuppa?
I'm drinking this one.
Fair dues. Okay, so as you can see, we've straightened that one out. Now I'm going to go back here to these polygons, and I'm going to click bridge. There we go, that's one. You always get one at the base. Now I need one at the bottom of the chair and one at the top of the chair, and then I can have possibly a decorative one if I so choose. So, just depends really on how you want to do this. So, I am going to go here, do a swift loop, and actually, might not. Let's have a look. Just trying to decide. I think I might use a connect instead, because that way I can slide it up and down the chair as much or as little as I need. So if I use the connect tool here, and then I can just slide it down. So I have one there, like so, and then I can chamfer it, and I can choose my chamfer amount, which will be around about there, and click tick. Okay, do it again, and I'm going to do a connect, and this time I'm going to slide it back up again, just to about there, tick, and then click the little box again next to chamfer. Okay, and then finally I'm going to go through here and here, so again remember control, and I'm going to use connect, and just bring it down a little bit. Okay, Hopefully you can hear this over the background music. If you can't, I do apologise. Oh, hello Darren, how are you? Good to see you. I'm glad you made it on. Sorry if things are going a little bit cray-cray over here. We're just trying to get things working. Right, so Chamfer. Darren's popped in. I was talking to him earlier on, trying to get this sorted out, so it's nice to see you here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these. And again, remember, the reason that I selected this is because you've all got one. Okay? So it's kind of something you can just look down at. Now, if you've got a rotating desk chair, groovy. I've got one of these because the rotating desk chair really hurt my back a lot. Okay, inset. And bridge. See that? 3ds Max. Didn't cry. Impressive, isn't it? Control S. Okay, and what I can do, same as I did before if I want to, is I can put some fabric in between this piece here. Okay, so that depends on how you feel. I don't think I'm going to. I mean, I've got a fabric block between mine, but it'll be more charged than it was. Hang on a second, have a quick look. 30%. Right, back to this. Ooh. My chair. Okay, now my chair also kind of flutes a bit at the top, but I don't really want to do that, so I'm just going to make sure that my chair has all the supports that it's supposed to have, and it seems like it does, so that's kind of good. Alright, now I'm going to hit F4, and something I really need to do is apply a smooth modifier to it. Just hit S until I get a smooth. Smooth is not the same as a mesh smooth or a turbo smooth or all those other things. It just basically makes your object smoother. Now you'll notice I've still got those clunky edges, so I can get rid of those if I really increase the smoothing up quite a bit. Let's do that. Okay, convert to zoom. Okay, so I got rid of some of those edges and I've got some nice tapering there. Now, because of the ornamentation on the bottom, I'm probably going to have to do a bit more ornamentation on the top, because otherwise it's just not going to work. So, I'm just going to go in here to this one, and I don't know, I kind of like it the way it is though. I don't want to do too much. I mean, I know the legs are kind of ornate, but they tend to be, so... nuts, I'm going to keep it the way it is. Now, I haven't put any maker's marks into this or anything like that, you know, things like screws and things, because wooden chairs like this would be assembled basically by slotting it together. So if you want to kind of do a chair that's got big rivets and nails hanging out the end of it, so be it, but I don't really need to. What I do need to do is unwrap this. So Control S is my friend. I'm going to go to unwrap UVW. And then I'm going to open my UV editor, and you'll see this here. That's my unwrap. Well, first things first, let's just flatten my mapping. Give it a 55-degree polygon threshold and click there. And what always gets me, you know, whenever I do this, a lot of the time if it's something like this, it does a fairly good job, to be quite honest. I mean, I know I don't have cylindrical stuff going on for the legs, but I can do that, so that's not really a great problem. And then I can repack it again. So what I could do is just come down here where my legs are, because obviously it's going to be important that all the legs on this chair are unwrapped properly, otherwise we're going to see some nasty seams. And what I'm going to do is just do some projection mapping for a cylindrical map and just fit it like that. Okay, and now you can see if I just turn off the projection, you won't be able to do anything until you turn off the projection. I can just move it straight over here. Okay, and now we've got that there. Now I'll do it again with this one, and again just make a cylindrical projection map. Okay, and just bring it up. Just gotta be careful because I don't want to rip it apart when I do it. And you'll notice these are all kind of the same shape, which is great, you know. Now we can't overlap these. This is important, okay? So I can't make these UVs share the same space because my game engine will be sad. And then you'll get really weird kind of blotchy color errors. Now you can get around that by making it light itself in real time, but that's not really a good option, and that's going to use a lot more processing time. So just a warning, don't do that. Okay, let's move this one up again. Now remember as well, when you're kind of spacing these out, deciding how big they're going to be. Okay, these legs should get almost exactly as much time as the back and everything else. Okay, fit. Turn that off. The first time you've ever watched a tutorial by me, hi, where have I been all your life? Okay, so as you can see now, if we kind of go down here, okay, we've got all sorts of like problems that this isn't going to fit into here, yeah? So let's do a quick Control S, let's make sure we're saved, like that. So if I just select all of these, we do have some options that we can use, including just automatic packing of stuff. And then if we look in here, you can see our 4 legs now have been packed in at the right size and shape. So we haven't lost those shapes there. Although we have lost this one, rather curiously. So I'm not exactly sure why it did that, unless it just couldn't fit it in. Which would be a teeny bit annoying. But I don't want to lose any of this shape if I can help it. My chat area is just like a terrifying thing. Okay, so I'm going to make sure rescale is clicked. I'm going to make sure rotate, if needed, can be clicked. And I'll change the padding to 0.01. Okay, and then I can just pack everything together. Oops, press the wrong button there. And just scale it down to the right size. There we go. Hang on a second. So I'm going to grab this. Let's bring it inside the boundaries of my UV map. Just make sure it's inside, because if it isn't, again you're going to wail and gnash your teeth and cry. So just make sure that there's plenty of edges everywhere. For some reason this one just doesn't want to, you know, bring itself together, does it? At all. I don't know what the problem is here, so I'm just going to do this one manually. Let's see which one it is. Is it this one? No. Is it this one? No. Is it this one? No. So it's you, isn't it? Okay, well. So, what? Which one's... But, hang on a minute. Did I make 2 copies of this Lego or something? That's surreal. Oh, wait. I see what the problem is. And I'm stupider than I could possibly believe. Okay, let's do this again. I fell for my own stupidity. Okay, what we need to do is we need to select this, come around the other side, and then select it here as well, because it's only going to select the side that we looked at. Okay, sorry about that. You're probably cursing me, why aren't I doing it correctly, kind of thing. There we go. And now, if I bring this and put it up here. Okay, next, I'm going to do this one. Same as before. And I'm just being careful because I only want to select these parts, yeah? Oh god, I pressed the wrong button. Okay, there we go. Shush, little doggy woof. Okay, go to there, click fit, turn it off again. And it doesn't matter where I drag it because I can repack it later. As you can see, there was a space in my map. Somewhere, there it is. Oh, see? UVs, man. Okay, let's do that again. Okay, so that one goes there. And again, like I say, the reason I'm doing this is because we may not notice things on squared off pieces of wood, but we sure as hell are going to notice things on rounded piece of wood when we get a seam, because these are all going to have been made from a single piece of wood fed into a lathe. So go through it all, just make sure there's no gaps. There's one there, you see. And there, I think that's space there as well. There was. Dear me, it's terrible. And fit. Okay, so that can go over there now. And now this one. Good thing about this is there's going to be a lot more space, which is help. Done that one already. Done that one already. Not done that one. Hello. Yes, what?
Is your printer working?
No. Sorry.
Oh, shit.
Why?
I need to print this.
Well, you can't. You'll have to go to the library in the morning.
I thought our printer had black ink.
Our printer has no ink. Our printer is bereft. Well, you'll have to print it at the library tomorrow. You've got plenty of time to do so. See that? That's what happens when you don't donate, you see, to my Patreon. My children can't afford to print their tickets to go to rock festivals. Right. Fit. Okay, so now you can see. Okay. Control S. Remember, always Control S. Now I'm going to select them all. And I'm going to repack them. And I'm going to allow it to rotate them if it wants and stuff. Pow. Alright, that's kind of acceptable. There. Let's pack them a bit tighter. Alright, so we have the chair legs, the base of the chair, which is this nice big bit here, which will really look nice, I think. And all the other bits in. So, now what I have to do is I have to make a colour map. So, I'm going to pull out, check my chair again, and I only need 2 different kinds of material on my chair, which is going to make things a teeny weeny bit easier. So, I'm just going to collapse it, and Control S again, and I'm going to select by element, because I have 2 elements here now. I have the pillow and everything else. So for everything else, I'm going to assign a colour to it, and that colour is going to be blue. There you go. Makes it way easier. Assigned. Now for this one, I'm going to make it red. Now this isn't the final colour. Okay, this isn't what we're going to end up with. This is just a chair. Okay, and it ain't going to be red and blue. I'm colourblind, but even I know, unless I'm on a children's TV show, and remember I warned you about those earlier, it isn't going to look like this. Okay, now, if I was to render out my colour map now, I'll just hit the render button, teapot. There we go. And you'll see, okay, we've got shadowing and stuff. So if I was to render my colour map, I'd have shadowing on it, and that would be no good. You see how that's darker there and stuff. So what I need to do is go to my lighting section, go to standard, grab myself a skylight and just plop it down there. Now nothing seems to have happened, but if I hit F9 now, look at that, no shadowing, just solid block colour. And that is what we need. Why? Well, I'll show you. Control S. Why is he saved again? You'll find out. Press 0. Okay, so there's my chair. Okay, this is render a texture. This is important if you're using Quixel, not so important if you're using other stuff, although a colour map always helps. With my chair, which is selected, I'm going to use my existing channel, not an automatic unwrap. Alright? I do not want this to unwrap my chair automatically because it will make a mess. Next, I want to add my output, and it's going to be a diffuse. Add. Okay? I'm going to create my texture for this. Now, it's up to you. Because this is a test object that I'm doing for a tutorial, does it matter where the skylight goes? No, it doesn't, Darren. The skylight can literally go anywhere. It doesn't even need to be visible. As long as it's active, that's fine. And you can get rid of it later on if you want as well. So, again, I'm going to use 2048 by 2048, okay? And just making sure we don't have to use automatic unwrap because it'll make me sad. I'm going to click render. This doesn't specify a target map slot. Well, because when you're unwrapping stuff using this, rendering the texture, you could basically kind of combine them straight into a diffuse map so that you don't have to reuse lighting. I'm not using that. So, click continue. Here comes yon big thing. Make it full screen for you. It won't take too long. So everything blue is wood, and everything red is not wood. Now, I'm going to show you some of the fun things we can do with it as well. And part of the reason that I just did a fast unwrap is because because having the edges for the wood the way we have, you know how it's like literally individual blocks going to our map, means I can do some fun things with Quixel, like just getting in some paint edges and some wear and stuff. So first thing I need to do is I'm going to save my image, and I'm going to save it into, now I've got this here stuff, so I may as well use it. New folder, chair _ 01. Okay, go to chair 01. Remember, I'm using English, UK, British spelling, so there's a U in colour for me. So this is chair _ colour map. Okay, there's a TGA. You can use JPEG if you want, but I'm using a Targa. Click enter. Pre-multiplied alpha, that's fine. Compress is fine. 24 bits will be okay. Not alpha split, okay. Done. Okay, let's close this down. And the chair now, this is important, and I'll explain it now because I'll probably forget to explain it later on. If I was to export this as an FBX file into a folder and then import it into Unreal Engine, the problem we're going to have, well, it's not even a problem, it's just one of the things we'll get is that the model will have 2 material slots because it's got a red and a blue. It won't have one unified material slot. Now, I've made a mistake before and had one that's had 13 because I've been using 13 different colour channels so that I can assign things to it. 2 is a nice easy place for us to start out with, and you'll see why. But yeah, you'll hopefully understand why I do things the way I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply a plain grey to this, Payne's grey, and with it selected and nothing else, so not even this, I'm going to go over here, export, export selected, go down to my YCB stuff, go to stuff, which is where I'm working out of, go to chair, and I'm going to call this chair export 01. Okay, it's an FBX or Filmbox file. You can save it as an OBJ if you want. You may only have that option if you're using Blender or some other system, but remember, if you're using Blender or other ones, you can get the Filmbox exporter. Most people, well, most applications now have had some clever bastard write a plugin for it, so take advantage. FBX. Saved. I'm not including any animation with it, so I can turn off animation, click OK. That's done. Right. Now what I need to do is I need to load up my Photoshop and Quixel. Here's one I made earlier. And I am going to use DDO. Okay, I could use MDO if I wanted to put scratches and walls and all sorts of things like that, whirls, I don't know, into my chair. But instead, I am, sorry, I was just really worried for a second that I was just literally broadcasting the broadcast software. It's not got the greatest preview window sometimes. So I'm going to click DDO and hope it works. There we go. And I think I should probably close down 3ds Max because it's going to be using some resources that Quixel would almost certainly want. So save. Bye bye chair. We had lots of fun. Okay, now there's only a couple of things I need. One's the material ID, which we made, and one's the model. So if I go to mesh, and I want to go down here to my YCB stuff, chair 01, chair export 01, there it is. And I want to go into my material ID and get my chair color map. Okay, that's all I need to start with. Okay, now here's the hard bit. We click create once I have made sure that everything's set. Auto, so we've got 2048. Everything else is going to be baked in 3DO, so that's cool. Yep, cool, create. It'll ask me a question in a minute. Might not actually. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it asks me if it wants to automatically bake curve information. Right, so for the next moment or two, it's just going to be doing stuff for itself. Hello, window. Oh, look at that. That doesn't look good, does it? That's like triangulated galore. Ooh. I might have to triangulate the render, well, the model. Right, I'm going to keep layers. If I'm using an older version of Photoshop, which I am because I don't want to pay Adobe for the rest of my natural life, then I'm using an older version. Hello, cat. Ah, let's get started, it says. I like your moxie. Okay, so the model it's given me, I think this is actually a bug with 3DO at the moment. So your one will not look like a ruin. Mine probably is a ruin. So I'm pressing the 3 button and that'll bring up my 3D model. But don't worry, the finished model doesn't look like a horrible wreck. See what I mean? Oh, it's so horrible. Ugh. I think what I'm going to do is just make sure that my model goes into this. So I'm just going to quickly launch 4.16. I bought this advanced vehicle kit. Never got around to using it, but it was cheap. Had a lot of fun with it though, so if you're interested in car stuff, you know, this advanced vehicle kit's actually quite clever. Really liked it. I think there's a little bit of cold coffee in the bottom of this mug. Yum, there is. It will take a moment for Unreal Engine to start. It's going to ask me to make a project, so I'll do that. This will give me a good chance to test out props and stuff, so I'm going to just make a new project, and this will load quicker as well, by the way. First person, sod it, and we'll call it test bed. Okay, that way we know what's in it. Start a content, why the hell not? Click create. It won't take long, like I say. How you doing over there, Darren? Don't know if you can hear this sassy background music. I have royalty permission to use all the music that's in streams. One of the only benefits of being with one of those YouTube content channel thingies. If I could find a button to automatically take off every bit of advertising on my YouTube channel, I would now. Because it's just so bloody pointless. With $3 a month it makes. I think I might just work without the 3D preview actually, simply because if I can import the chair into Unreal Engine without any issues, then it's just going to use up extra resources having that. So, okay, let's just zoom down here, go to content, and I'm going to go and make a new folder called stuff. Let's go into it and import, and link down the YCB stuff. Chair. Yeah, sure, go for it. Yeah, there's never sleeping group information. Okay, Control S. Okay, so just play from here so I can have a look at my chair. Yeah, that's chair. That says chair to me, and it's not broken in this, which means it is the version of Quixel Suite that I'm using. Okay, well, sorry Quixel guys, I wanted to show you software now. Groovy light, but it's an error. Quixel is fantastic, so it happens sometimes, not to worry. Okay, so I am going to first of all add some material to this, and I just want a basic material, so I want some paint, no, some wood, sorry. So let's see what wood we've got. And as you can see, we've got lots and lots of wood. I don't know what wood chairs are made from. Is it maple? Do you know what chairs are made from, Amanda? What kind of wood?
They're made from all kinds of wood.
Yeah, they are. I think birch is a bit soft for wood, though.
Oak's popular, but it's expensive.
Yeah, it is. Sod it. We'll have chestnut. That looks really wally. I don't like that one. Ugh. I'm gonna go and look at the other woods they've got. Let's go over here. There'll be some wood around here. Here we are, wood. Bare. Worn bare wood. Oh, that's nice. Let's look at lacquered. Oh, that's really nice, actually. Mahogany. I know things get made from mahogany. Create. And this will make the entire chair mahogany, again bearing in mind obviously that it's not going to look great in this preview window, so I do apologise. It's not my fault. Okay. I'm just going to close down the preview because there's just no point in having it. And if I hit this to go back, it'll take me back to my main index. And then what I'll do is right click, mask my layer to ID. It'll bring up my ID mask that I built. Remember the colours? Now if I got the colours exactly right, it would automatically assign the materials to them. But trust me, there ain't no way on God's green earth I'm going to get these colours right. So, done. Okay, so let's have a look. Control plus, Control plus, Control plus. That's quite nice actually, it's all scuffed in the right places too. Okay, and now I'm going to add some fabric, so I'll do this again. And let's see, cotton, dirty cotton. Well, it's quite an old looking chair, isn't it? What colour do you think the seat cushion should be, I wonder? God, there's loads of cloths here. And leather. I don't think a leather seat would work, it's not that kind of thing. Camo cloth? And then tarpaulin, which seems to be spelled wrong. Oh, decisions. Sod it. Patterned cotton. I like patterned cotton. Create. And as you can probably guess from what I previously did, I'm going to take my patterned cotton and I'm going to assign the ID map just to the area that's the seat cushion. Now what I could choose to do as well if I wanted to is I could start adding layers of paint to it and things like that. Let's see. Ugh, pattern, I don't know. I think I might have it plain rather than have that pattern. Can't decide. Let's see how big it is. So I'm going to mask layer to IDs because it'll look like an advert for that really old computer company that existed in Britain and then died a death suddenly. All its boxes look like cow skin. Weird. What was that called? I keep thinking it was called Moo and it wasn't. Well, actually, could be a lot worse. That's solid, I'll stick with that then. Okay, and then over the top of this, I'm going to add a last smart material. And for this, I'm going to go to my weathering, which is a legacy material, but I love the weathering materials. And if I just open that up, I can see all sorts of things. And I think I'm just going to put either some general dust or some gunk or something. Not blood splatter, don't be tempted, I know what you're thinking. Or maybe just wear and tear. Ah, sod it, wear and tear could work. I don't know. Decisions. I'll put heavy dirt on. No, general. Can't decide. I think put on this one, and then I can just reduce the amount once I have it done, because I can just apply opacity through it. I do apologise, by the way, if you're listening to this and the sound breaks every so often, because there's a lot of processing going on. It is going to dick with the audio heavily. This background music's funky as. It is, it's just ridiculously good. Wow, it's, yeah. I think that may be terrible. Okay, so, what to do if you created something terrible? There's a bin icon for a reason. Delete layer. Good thing is that it's non-destructive, so it'll just go back to what it was. So that's sorted out. Oh dear me. Well, I might add some paint then over the top of it. I don't know. What colour would I paint this chair if it was in a clinic? White, wouldn't it? Yeah, solid, let's put some paint on it then. So... let's see what we've got here. Flaked painted wood. Ugh, these are worn painted wood, that's quite nice. I think a yellow chair would actually make me physically sick. That one. Create. and then I'm going to map this to the same layer as the initial wood underneath it. And what will happen is, because it's a smart material, it's going to pick up things that are underneath it. Plus I can change the opacity, and I can draw out using Quixel if I want to, just to make areas that have scraped away or whatever. Wow. Okay, so over here, and mask layer to ID. Tell you what, it's a lot easier when my 3D preview is working, so I'm going to be installing the latest version. But I didn't really have time to download it, unfortunately, which is a great shame. Because if you subscribe to Quixel Suite, you do get all the updates free, which is great. And their support is excellent, and I love them. Okay, I'm just going to bring this down a bit like that. There we go, that gives it a little bit of wornness. Nice. Okay, so with that kind of looking okay, I mean, I don't know, I'm colourblind, what do I know? What I'm going to do is I'm now going to click the exporter and just make sure my path's set. Okay, so chair export, that sounds okay to me. Just click in there and it updates it. So it's going to be chair map TGA, and I'm going to export all materials, making sure it's for Unreal Engine 4. Power, 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 power. Now if I wanted to save this, I could. If I wanted to basically just go into Photoshop and, like, you know, use tools to add extra detail to this manually, I can, and it will update it and keep the entire thing updated, which is fantastic. What I'm going to do though is I'm just going to basically close it down. So if I just click that and then go to File and close all, and then just press N every so often. As you can see, it's made a few maps, and then let's do that. Bye Photoshop. Okay, so you may remember our chair from earlier. Hello chair. Now we have our material here. I'm not going to create a mega complicated material because there's just no point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to import, and you'll notice now we've got all this stuff going on. So if I go to here, and I can get my albedo, my metallic, my normal, and my roughness. That's it. Open. It'll automatically detect that my normal map has been created. Oh, it's nice creating a chair again. I've made one in about 17 years. Not as a tutorial anyway. Now remember, my creation of an unwrap was incredibly lazy and in no way kind of standard, but I also don't care. Right, so I'm doing a Shift Control and S. A lot of the time if it works, I don't break it. Now, here's my material, which is currently called default, so I'm going to change that to chair material 01. Okay, that way I know what it is. And open it by double clicking on it. There it is. And here is probably just a solid colour or something. Yep. Okay. Now I'm not going to change the material type because I don't need to. What I do need to do is just grab in my albedo, and I'm just going to drag this white marker here to my base colour. Then I'm going to get my chair metallic, which is basically just black. You know, I don't even have to use this if I don't want to. Just save sometimes. Delete that. Delete that. It'll ask me if I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. And I can just press 3 and click. Okay, and it'll give me this. And this uses way less memory resources than that material, which is 2048 by 2048, and it's still black. Okay, the roughness. Let's grab this. It goes in there. So now you'll see we start to get, obviously, the way the patterns kind of work on stuff. See there? Chipping, all that groovy stuff. Yeah. And then finally, normal. Which I just slide into the normal map. Now, I'm not making these adjustments. Now, I can do, if I want to, I could make it so that I could have different coloured chairs and stuff, but I'm not. I just want to get this working. So, let's go around it, make sure everything's working the way I want it to. Seems to be. Click save. It's probably not going to look that great when it goes on the chair, because like I say, my preview, unfortunately, wasn't playing ball today. But that's my fault for not upgrading. It's not Quixel Suite's fault, because I know they patch this stuff as fast as they find errors. And no, they don't pay me money. Right, and if I just go to my chair now, I should be able to just go around it. And that's not bad at all, actually. I mean, don't get me wrong, the pattern on the chair probably isn't the best, but it'll certainly do. It will certainly do. Okay, and there was one last thing I wanted to do, because I've got well, I set myself a maximum time limit of 3 hours, and I think I'm only going to do about another 10 minutes. I'm just going to kick 3ds Max back into life, because I want to create one more asset. This is quite a useful little thing, because not only do I want the chair, but I also want a covered chair asset. Okay, I was talking with Amanda earlier on, and she said do a chair and do a covered chair, so that's a good idea. I'll do a covered chair. So let's let 3ds Max load up, however long that's going to take. Not a short period of time by the looks of things. Come on, Autodesk 3ds Max. There it is. Okay, now I'm going to load my last object in a moment. Okay, and that was chair. And there's two things I need to make now. So I'm going to make a box like that. I'll just drag it into a good position. And I need this box for collision purposes. Next I'm going to create a plane, and the plane's going to be basically a blanket size. So think about a blanket, it's a rectangle, isn't it? So there we go. Now at the minute my plane is not going to be very high in polygons, but it needs to be. So what I'm going to do is just take this up to maybe 20 by 20. That's probably not going to be enough either, so let's make it 35 by 35. That's 2,400. Solid, let's go 50-50 then. It's 5,000 polygons, okay? Now I want to UV unwrap this, so I'm just going to use a UVW map. Make sure it's planar, right click, convert to editable poly. That's all I need to do for the unwrapping. It's now unwrapped. And I'm going to apply a cloth modifier to this. So I need cloth, so I'm going to call this CLOTH, so I know what it is. In fact, I'm going to call it chair cloth. That way if I create any more cloth. And I want to make sure it's not touching the top of the chair. Really important. Okay, now this is the point where things crash a lot, which is why Control S is very important. I'm going to go press C and go down to my cloth modifier just there, and I'm going to go to object properties. I don't need to add any forces to this. I'm going to add objects, and it'll give me the box and it'll give me the chair. So I'm going to add both of those, and these are both inactive and they're both collision objects. Chair cloth is cloth. And the preset I'm going to use for that is probably going to be cotton, because it's like a cotton sheet. I could also use burlap or whatever. Don't use wet cloth, because, God, it takes forever to calculate. Yeah, I think cotton's ideal. Okay, click OK. Right, so, if you were expecting it to be more complicated than that, it really isn't, although it might fry up the machine a little bit. So let's simulate. There it goes. The good thing about this is, you see, I can then stop this whenever I want, or rather scroll back in the timeline whenever I want, and just get the perfect point for me for the chair being covered in a cloth. Because I like this idea. I like the idea that the chair's got a cloth on it. I like the idea that the chair's, you know, covered because it's not being used for some reason. Gives it a nice shape. And remember, of course, you can use this for any item, which is quite helpful. Okay, let's come in and just find the point that I'm happy with. which I think was quite early on actually. Maybe about there. Okay. Now the good thing about this is we don't need a chair underneath it at all, so I can just do that. I mean, there are some areas where the cloth's kind of intersecting itself, but that's going to happen. And I can manually move those polygons if I want to. Or I can just cheat and make the texture double-sided, which is probably what I'm going to do anyway. Okay, so that's our covered chair cloth. And I'm going to right-click, convert to editable polygon, and suddenly all my animation keys are gone, which is exactly how I wanted it. And I could do with a colour map of some kind for this, I suppose, but it's only got one colour, so I'm going to export. Export selected. Let's take it to where this is. It's in Chair 01. Let's go to new folder, Chair Cloth 01. Remember, you can do loads of different calculations, so you can have loads of different things, which is helpful. Okay. Chair Cloth 01. Enter. Okay. Done. And I'll just fire up, I suppose, Quixel again, really. I don't really need to do a lot with it. Just type Quixel into that. Cool, I'm actually catching on live, about time, looking good so far. Well, thank you very much indeed, Lost Cosmonaut. See that? This is the mistake I made, but I didn't have time. I needed 2.3.1 and I haven't updated yet. Sorry Quixel, I'm making you look bad and I do apologise. Okay, DDO. Take a moment to load, bear with me. Okay, I'm going to grab my mesh again. This time chair cloth. Remember, it's 5,000 polygons, which is quite a lot. Some UVs are outside the range. Why are they outside the range? I reckon it's going to make me sad if I have a look at the map now. No, it's not. Silly thing. They're only just outside the range, doesn't matter. I'm going to pretend they're not. Don't save. The reason I'm not saving is because I deleted the chair, remember? And I don't want it gone forever. Okay, material ID. Let's just steal the other one because it doesn't really matter. Because I'm just going to go straight over the top of it anyway. It's just one material. I'm not going to use the colour map at all. So click create. Thought someone had asked a question. I was a bit confused there. Oh, I can plug my phone into charge actually while this is happening. All our phone chargers were stolen by my youngest daughter and taken to her new house. Well, I presume she's building a nest out of some sort of device. I don't know. Okay, remember what I said, just keep layers. Because if you don't, something's going to go wrong and you'll cry. Hello. I really need a small monitor just here so I can see what's happening on Twitch easier. Right, remember, I'm not opening my 3D thing. Okay, it's just not going to happen because no. So, add smart material. Why the hell not? Dirty cotton. Yes. No, actually, better make it clean cotton. Okay, create. Like I say, if it was working, then I would open the preview and we could look at it. I don't think it's a good idea because there's going to be triangles everywhere. Okay, that'll do me, whatever it is. I think I might take some more dirt off, so let's just reduce the opacity on that a bit. Okay, and I'm just going to go here, open the exporter, set my path to chair cloth, that's good. Export all materials. Pow pow pow. Doesn't take long. Okay. And then just close all this stuff. No. Okay, and close Quixel. Close Quixel before you close Photoshop, or Photoshop will open again. Okay, so quick bit of housekeeping. New folder. Textures. New folder. Models. New folder. Materials. You do this because if you do not, then your folders are going to become a mess. Okay, so I'm going to select all my textures and drag them into textures and move them. Done. I'm going to drag my material into materials and move it, not copy, and grab my chair and move it. Okay, we now have a sensible hierarchy. So I'm building stuff here and then I'm moving it. Okay, next, I'm going to import. And again, remember, going to stuff, chair cloth. There's our chair cloth thing, import. No smoothing group information found, not surprised. Okay. Okay, so there's our covered chair. Remember, I didn't have time really. I'd have used a push modifier if I'd have thought about it, just to separate out a couple of these polygons. But actually, it's looking okay, and I quite like it. I'm sure there's going to be some terrible jaggies that will make me sad, but you know, it's the way it goes. Okay, so Control-Shift-S, I'm just going to save everything, and then I'm going to import, and I believe my stuff exported to here. I don't need metallic, so it's going to be roughness, normal, albedo. Albedo. I need to scream into the microphone and pretend to be one of those cool young things that does YouTube videos and will make thousands of dollars. Okay, you'll notice chair didn't make a material because I didn't assign anything to it. It was just a cloth. It was just a mesh rather. So to create one, I'm just going to go right click, create material, and I'll call this chair cloth underscores, never spaces, material 01. Okay, and I'm going to open it up. And again, as before, okay, so just drag this up so we can see the things underneath it a bit better. I want my albedo, like so. I don't bother baking out ambient occlusion or anything else. I just want basically as simple as I can get it for this, for the time being, because if I'm going to be throwing this into, for example, VR, firstly, I'm not going to be using a normal map in VR. They don't work, sorry. Worth it for VR, and I will show you how we do that later. But first, I have to get my VR stuff working again because it's not, which makes me sad. Remember, if you want to donate a brand new Oculus Rift to the cause, please just let me know, and I will send you another photograph of me crying in the bathtub with an Oculus Rift. Right. You Can Blue, hauling itself out for money since whenever we started. Okay, let's close that down. So I've got my chair cloth material and I've got my chair cloth here. One thing I do need to do is I need to make this double-sided. So see that there where it says two-sided? Now it's two-sided. It's going to take a little while because I've still got a lot of applications and stuff open, plus I'm broadcasting, plus I'm recording. A lot of stuff happening here, man. Okay, so I'm going to drag my chair cloth material over there to that. It's done. Okay, so now we have a chair and we have, you know, this cloth here. And if I just play from here, we can even have a look at them. Okay. Yeah, they look fine. So that's two full realized assets created in 1 hour 24 minutes and 42 seconds. Okay, last thing I'm going to do again is housekeeping. So you can make funny sounds if you want while I'm doing the housekeeping and shout housekeeping, but I'm not going to. Throw that into texture, click move here. Take material, throw it into materials, move here, and throw our model into models, move here. Okay, so there we go, 2 assets created in 1.5 hours. Okay, now I know I can create assets fairly quickly, but I've been doing this for 20 years, more or less, you know, and that's why. Practice, do it a lot. The reason the group that really good artists are posting is called 10,000 hours is because you want to get good at this, you need to spend a lot of time doing it. I realised that these models are fast made and a bit of a rush job. That happens. You know, just keep at it, make something good, make something you're going to be proud of. Okay, so let's start by give me a chance to scratch my chin and I can have a quick look at my broadcasty thing. I know there's not too many people in. Look at that, 3 viewers. Fucking hell. Come back though. I'm going to try and make sure we do this as regularly as possible. It's important for me as well. Good man. Honestly, if you want to share it with other people as well, Lost Cosmonaut, please do. Okay, I'm trying to get the channel kind of going as much as possible. This will be on www.youcanblue.com in the clinic area, which is obviously stuff devoted to the clinic. It's not a game, clinic software that I'm working on for VR. I'll be doing some more broadcasting soon. Darren, I'll let you know in advance, but keep messaging me because you know what my memory's like. Anyone else who's watching, if you typed in your name or just typed in anything in the chat, then I would have said hello, but you didn't because you're too shy. Shy bears getting out. So anyway, it's been a pleasure, and I shall see you next time, and until then.